Hello there, my very good friends. On today's wrestling news, yes, I'm going to say this word. We're going to tell you why WWE buried Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle.
I've got the actual Fiend.
Roman Reigns walks out on a WWE press conference.
And Triple H is simply mad, in my opinion, on Power.
I'm Andy Murray.
And I'm still not fully awake.
And I'm in a similar boat. This is the news. Let's kick things off by talking about the main event at Clash at the Castle, and specifically the outcome of that match, because it's all anyone's talking about still. So we figured, we wouldn't usually sit here and go, hey, this match result is news, but everyone's speaking about it, and I figured we could theorize on why it happened and why Roman Reigns beat Drew McIntyre in the UK to retain the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Clash at the Castle last night, great live experience. We had a fun time. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Eli Drake had a fun time as well. And it was a main event result that we didn't really see happening, particularly when we were sitting there and reading the room. So obviously they built Drew up as this home territory guy. He's coming back to the islands. He's a homecoming hero. They gave him all these earnest vignettes and stuff, and they were great vignettes, don't get me wrong. The building absolutely adored him. There was crazy chants in the first few minutes, and they reacted to that expertly, like conductors playing a crowd, but the crowd was an orchestra. The proof is in the pudding, and the pudding in this case is wrestling.
That's genuinely, it's a man at the top of his craft there. Really
and ultimately, he lost, Drew did, when Solo Sikoa showed up, pulled off his hoodie and went, I'm Solo Sikoa. And then Roman Reigns got the pin and went, I'm Roman Reigns and I'm still the champion, brothers. There you go. Like, it's a logical storyline, right? In that Solo Sikoa is the Usos' brother. So he fits into the bloodline quite well. But they decided to slaughter everything they had with Drew in that main event to debut a guy from NXT 2.0 who I like, don't get me wrong, but it's still NXT 2.0. So we met a lot of angry people on the walkout of the stadium, understandably so. I think that the mindset behind this result would have been that, hey, let's build Roman Reigns up as an undefeatable god.
Yeah.
The problem is, as Sidgwick deftly pointed out last night, Drew's never going to be over again to the level he was, at least, in that building last night. And it feels a bit whack.
Yeah, I have had time to sleep on it now, and I still stand by what I said last night of, like, even from a cynical, very WWE perspective, this is a company that loves to tell you it makes memories and it makes moments, and you can't replicate what it can do in its biggest moments like any other company in the world. And that was it. You had your first, you're never going to have 30 years until your next UK event, while there is a British guy fairly near the top of the card who's super over, super popular, and a champion who feels unbeatable, but is probably coming up to the right time for a change. You're never going to get a perfect storm like that. You're never going to get people crying in the first 100 rows when Drew wins that belt, and yet they went, nah, let's just use it to debut an NXT guy. And look, we have more faith in them than we used to. I'm sure there's a plan somewhere when previously we wouldn't have thought that, but God if I know what it is.
Yeah. There probably is a plan in play, but at this stage, I'm not yet convinced that it's not bad.
Speaking of plans, would you like to see the plan for The Fiend?
Oh, and always.
I may have oversold that side. There isn't necessarily a plan for The Fiend, but we were hoping to see him last night. Me and Andy said, wouldn't it be nice if his little head popped out the underside of the castle, looked around a bit, went back up, and you just never saw him again. You know, Bugs Bunny somehow makes a rabbit hole on the ceiling when he's invading Elmer Fudd. Like that. That would have been good.
Who is the Fiend's Elmer Fudd?
Who is the Fiend's Elmer? I think it's you.
It's me.
I think it's you. You never stop looking for the Fiend. It is always Fiend season for you.
That Wesley Webbit. That's what he said, wasn't it?
That flipping Fiend.
That flipping Fiend.
Sounds Jonathan Ross. Anyway, right. So Winter Return has not been seen since what? 2021. I want to say middle of July. He was the biggest thing in wrestling for all of about 6 months, and he was getting mainstream penetration.
Yeah, the biggest hammer in wrestling.
He did, and then they just didn't know what to do with it, and it got really stupid and really silly. And then he vanished, and there's been talk every single day in our office since about when we would see him again. And we haven't. Andy Murray promised me it was a coin flip last night about whether or not he would turn up at Clash in the Castle, so I personally felt quite let down. Anyway, Fightful Select has a report, and I'm going to go to the bottom of this story first, because apparently there is, according to this report, at least some interest in Wyatt from AEW. Now that's obviously not a huge thing. I presume we have reported on that before. Somebody doesn't like that one. There is some interest there, but that's not what the main story is. Apparently there is a wild, out of left field, far more substantial offer for Wyndham Rotunda, and that is from an upstart wrestling promotion believed to be none other than Freddie Prinze Jr., Mr. Sarah Michelle Gellar, his wrestling promotion. Now, I don't know a whole lot about that wrestling promotion. I presume it hasn't done anything particularly exciting yet, but if it's trying to get off,
launched, yeah.
if it's trying to get off to a big old bang, speaking of big old bangs,
there he is.
No, come in.
We want a little.
I need some insight from you.
Here we go. Look at this. This
place.
video's about to be fun.
Well, it's live. You never know what's going to happen.
Get involved.
Thank God we have a
What
thumbnail.
are we
now.
talking about?
Freddie Prinze Jr. wants to sign Wyndham Rotunda.
Oh yeah.
Samuel,
How you doing? Hey guys.
any thoughts?
I think it'll be a really good signing. I like Freddie Prinze Jr. I enjoy his podcast. He has very good insight into wrestling, and he wanted to sign Karrion Kross, didn't he?
Yeah,
Karrion Kross
That's
went back to
not money.
WWE, so maybe that could happen again.
Yeah, I'm really into the idea of Freddie Prinze Jr. heading a wrestling promotion headlined by The Fiend and David Arquette. This wacky nonsense. I'm all on board. A third promotion that we could cover would be so awesome.
That'd be so
I'll be
good.
up for it.
Having two that we do every week is great, but three, and one of them's got The Fiend.
And it's going to be seasonal as well, isn't it?
Boom,
Around
yeah, that's
12
it.
episodes go off for a while, and I think someone should have done it. I guess Lucha Underground used to do it. So,
He was talking about like renting a bar or something to host it in. So hey, that could be really fun. This is great. Right, Roman Reigns walked out of a press conference. What a rascal! He's gonna get fined for that. What's he doing? It was all gimmicked. It was all gimmicked, of course. So they did a post Clash at the Castle press conference last night, and Roman Reigns was the first person introduced by Tony Khan.
I said goodbye video.
Yeah, see you later. By Papa H. Sidgwick, make a noise.
Papa H.
There we go. By Triple H. And he didn't do anything. Alex McCarthy, shout out to Alex, lovely man, asked him just about the scope and the scale of Clash at the Castle. Roman Reigns stood up, said acknowledge me, and buggered off. Prick.
That's it.
You don't do that. That's really mean.
It's a bit weird, isn't it?
It is really strange.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was gimmicked. That was kayfabed. And this was kind of like other people were not so kayfabed and gimmicked. This was weird, wasn't it? This was a weird time. It created a weird vibe in the room by the sounds of things. And I feel really sorry for Alex, to be honest.
I think I liked it.
I'm just going to try and offer some serious journalistic media insight while I'm sat next to Simon Miller eating a bowl of Frosties here, which is a very nice dynamic. I think that's a massive lack of professional courtesy done by Roman Reigns and WWE. There, people are there as journalists, and they're gonna get. No, they are though. They're invited down to ask questions and stuff, and you get pelters when you don't do the hard stuff in AEW when you're not pushing on the issues. And I'm sure, like, people with professional standards are going to want to go down there and try and ask serious questions or try and do that. And then to get someone's catchphrase and then walked out on is just. That's no good. That's not what these things should be for. There's no point in doing them if you're going to do that. Just do like a mixed zone or something.
Yeah, I agree. Do it like the interviews.
Yeah,
They
like-
come through. That way they can say, when you do a press conference, you're trying to mimic MMA, mate, or boxing, whatever. It's been going on for years. Or at least for some people going, can't believe they copied AEW. It's like, the press conference has been around for a while. But you want to get something out of it, don't you? Even if it is stock answers, that's okay. But ask your hard questions. And that's being media trained, isn't it? Just accept the stock answers. Yeah.
Even if your questions suck, you will still have prepared those and you would still like to get some answers to them. It's a waste of everybody's time, that.
Yeah.
Boo, I didn't like it.
Did you acknowledge him?
You know what? I really wanted to acknowledge him, but such was the level of acknowledgement being done either side of me by the Michaels at the show. I felt if I should have been joined in, I would have looked like Richard Hammond on Top Gear going like, oh, me too, yes, I acknowledge him as well.
For those of you watching this,
Enjoy
see you later.
Hey, soggy cereal, I can't have it.
And for those of you who weren't in our row at Clash of the Castle, which is literally all of you, we were literally doing the We the Ones thing in a child's face. It was very mean.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed your night.
It was good. The kid was dressed as Drew. He had a kilt and a sword.
Pouring his eyes out at the
Little
end.
haggis. He had a haggis on his head. He's wild.
Should we move on?
He was stirring short red in a CU Jimmy hat. It was ridiculous. It was Kevin Gallagher.
Eyebrow running down his that was tiny sad face. Right, Triple H absolutely lost his mind, in my opinion, during this press conference, because while he was quite happy for all his subordinates to do the gimmicks, he did try and answer some fairly serious questions. And we got some, I'm not going to go so far as to say revelations, but certainly some clues about how the WWE landscape under Triple H may unfold. And these are from WrestleZone, these quotes, WrestleZone. I'm just going to give you pretty much the play-by-play of what he said. This is when he was asked about sort of, NXT seemed to have gone a bit of a crest of a wave heading into 2020, and obviously he had the Wednesday Night Wars and stuff, and it's kind of trying to find his feet again. What's the plans for that? And he actually just cut that off and said, actually, for one, I'm very excited about NXT Europe. I think the opportunity for us, NXT UK started here, obviously. We had large plans prior to the pandemic. We were about to make some big moves with it, and things happened in life, as Tyson Fury says. Sometimes we all get knocked down, and then we got to get back up again, and they're never going to keep our shoddy body. Sorry, dog. Sometimes we all get
Shoddy-waddy.
we get knocked back down. We've got to regroup and figure it out. I think with all that behind us, hopefully now the time to make that move is now, and we decided to pull back on what we were doing so that we can advance to the next level. Sometimes it's tough to do that at the same time. Now, basically, there's a lot of other stuff, but finally he gets to the point, and he says, so I think you'll see NXT Europe. I think long-term goal there is that to be in the markets all around the world with a product that can eventually be competing against each other. World Cup type scenarios that are feeding into Raw, SmackDown, and WrestleMania. Now, World Cup type scenarios is being interpreted by all the British wrestling media this morning with one key fact ignored. Americans don't largely understand football formats. I think he may... Or irony. I think he may think World Cup just means teams competing semi-regularly as opposed to a large-scale event where they all come together and do a pro wrestling World Cup of sorts. An idea for which I cannot imagine where he might have plucked it. I think it's interesting though. Obviously the NXT Europe stuff feels very much like it's sort of jumping on the grave of NXT UK already. When you kind of had it at NXT, you could have done it that way, but you killed your first one, now you want to do a big one. So I do feel, certainly in the context of the evening, where there were certain former members of the roster in the crowd having just been unglamorously sort of booted from the company. A little bit of a weird avenue to go down, but that's what they're going to do. They're going to be in all these different global markets. Something that feeds into each other is at least exciting.
I'm not pro this at all. I'm very strongly against this. I think that wrestling shrinking by one company expanding to an unfathomable level is extremely unhealthy for the business across the board. I don't want WWE to go into Japan and hoover up a bunch of really cool like indie wrestlers from promotions that's then going to lead to those smaller promotions folding and stuff. I don't want them going around Europe and doing the same. I don't want them going to South America and Africa and everywhere else. This stuff just isn't for me, but it's the nature of capitalism. It's a calipoism.
MF has said calipitalism.
Bloody hate calipos. It's just the nature of the way the world works, man. The big dog comes along and eats everything smaller than it up. I think this really sucks. I think the wealth of pro wrestling should be spread around multiple promotions. I legitimately am fired up about that Freddie Prinze Jr. promotion because it's something different. It's something new. It's somewhere else for people to work, and that creates better conditions for fans, wrestlers, and literally everyone in the business because it drives everything up. So I hate this. I love the idea of... and also WWE has a terrible history when it comes with this kind of stuff. They are absolutely brutal. They are bloodthirsty, and the evidence so far suggests that Triple H is going to be even worse. I think he's as brutal, if not more so, as his father-in-law. I have enjoyed Raw and SmackDown very much over the past few weeks. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't, but I loathe this. I'm well aware that this is not within the tone of the rest of this video, but I hope it doesn't happen.
I'd love to offer some kind of counterpoint to that, but their only experience of going into any territory and setting up something did literally do everything you've just said and worse. And then at the end of it, they didn't even let Drew win, which would have been, hey, look, it was technically all worth it. Look, you got the 60,000 seats. See, it built to something. Guys, and it didn't even do that.
Generally, capitalism is quite bad for most people, and this is an example of that.
And that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we got time for. Any Twitter questions?
No.
I got one here. It's from @JohnnyBalls, and he says, guys, is capitalism bad? Well, I think we answered that one on the video, John.
I've got one here from @HammerandSickle going, hello, Andy, do you want to join? No.
Hi, Andy, do you want picking up in the morning, pal?
I'm only joking, man. But WWE's history of expansion is brutal. It's made the wrestling industry worse historically, and I don't want that. I want WWE to grow in its current format, not go and hoover up a bunch of awesome places and put companies out of business abroad, because that's what they'll do. I want choice. I want you guys at home to have 40 different companies you can enjoy. I don't want it all to be just one. That stinks. That's not good.
I want Simon Miller to have to do 40 ups and downs a week. Yes. That's what I want.
Think of the clicks.
Think of the clicks.
Anyway.
Speaking of clicks, don't forget to click all the stuff at the bottom, including the like button, the subscribe button, and the share button. There's a good little boy now. Leave us a comment if you like the video, if you enjoyed the Cardiff weekend. That was really awful. I don't know why I said that. If you really enjoyed the Cardiff weekend or the coverage, let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Andy on Twitter, whence?
You can put...
@Andy H. Murray, the H stands for
halibut.
Yeah, class.
It's what's for breakfast.
Better not be. Adam Cleary, CLERY, the entire WhatCulture wrestling family @WhatCulture WWE, and it's Adam Nicholas behind the camera for you. But in the meantime, this has been the early morning.